with all the things that we've been programmed and all the things we studied about the afterlife, you'd think that it would be pretty nuts. But it really just seems like a place with no body outside of here, where the physical limitations are gone, but the goal is still spiritual growth. So it looks like after some sort of acclimation process, it looks like the spirits that are there, the youngest they're there, and I mean that in the sense of if they're newly arrived, anyone is manifesting anything with their thoughts. There seems to be an abundance of energy and also the ability to manifest using your thoughts in a way that is way faster than what we can do here. So what I was noticing is you can manifest anything. So the people who were newly arrived seem to manifest things that made them more comfortable, that reminded them of Earth. And then later on, it seems like the older souls were manifesting stuff that was more to where they were at. Anything, though. So I'm not really sure what anyone's going to get out of this, other than the fact that if you have a loved one who's passed on, I know there's so many questions, and there's so much pain around it from not knowing, you know. And there's an infinite amount of accounts of people saying things exactly like I'm saying, complete opposite, from meditation to the religious textbooks all over the world. There's all different opinions. But I'm just sharing what I experienced and what allowed me to do. Because as I saw my grandmother transition, I was able to talk to her afterwards, and she said that she was extremely excited, and that I could not even imagine the weight that she lost of her density and all of her pain. She said there was a lot that had to be done. She had to go spend some time getting rid of some more of her pain, but other than that, she was ecstatic to be there, and it just looked like a place filled with passion and growth. And as far as it being like the most amazing place I've ever seen, in meditation I was really only able to focus on the energetics, and I wasn't that deep into meditation, so I could tell that the frequency was really, really high, and it was really awesome. But this time I didn't see it as unbelievably amazing. I was focusing more on the spirits. But from different psychedelic trips I've had, mushrooms, LSD, DMT, things like that, or other times when I just go really deep into meditation, I do know just the beauty of it is awesome. And it doesn't matter whether you committed suicide, it doesn't matter if you murdered people, it doesn't matter if you had an abortion, it doesn't matter if you got blown up by a bomb, it doesn't matter. It's all the same place. The illusion comes at first with what makes you feel comfortable. So if you're in a state of hell on earth, you enter into creating whatever you expected for a short amount of time. So you do go to a state of anguish. But again, there's whole teams working with each person that help align you with your new frequency that happens from coming out of your body. So that's awesome. It's like, get excited, because if you think about it, if you really think about this and you think about what I'm saying, you don't have to take what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't, but if you want to, the whole point behind it is this: if you can lose your fear around death, then you can lose your fear around living. And that's where the real fun comes in, because the fear around living is terrifying. It's crippling, because you're like, oh, I don't know, I might get hurt, I might do this, I might do that. But once you realize, okay, like, I don't have to fear death at all, and you know that for sure, because everyone hears that, but once you know it, then you live in a different way. And one of the techniques I'd like to share that has altered my life in such a huge way over the past couple of years is from Carlos Castaneda books. And I don't know if you haven't read them. They are the stories of Carlos Castaneda, an anthropologist who travels into Mexico to learn about psychedelic plants and ends up becoming the apprentice of a Toltec sorcerer. So really amazing. It's a true story, as far as we know. So one of the techniques that they talk about in that book that can be applied to your life instantly is the technique of using death as an advisor. And what this means is the way the Toltecs believed was that death was stalking you everywhere you went, just waiting for the time when you slowed down enough to catch up to you and claim you. And it was always an arm's reach away from you, to your left-hand side. If you look quickly, sometimes you can catch death, is what they say. All that's great, but the way they describe the technique is using death as your advisor is something that can be done when you focus on the fact that death is right next to you at all times. And the way that I've been applying it to my life is anytime I'm stressed, anytime I'm doing anything, anytime I want to upgrade what I'm doing, I simply just remind myself that I could die tonight. And if I was going to die tonight, which is going to be awesome, when that finally happens, how would I want to be living my life right now? If I'm in the middle of a fight or I'm stressed out, and I'm like, well, if I died tonight, which is always a possibility, how would I want to experience this moment right now? And instantly the moment is transmuted to something beautiful, and you're able to be something that you didn't think you could be because you're so present and you're so loving that all the pettiness falls away. So all this death talk has really just been leading up to this technique, because this is the powerful thing, is like this is a technique that if used, you can use to help transmute your biggest resistances in life. Because really at the end of the day, nothing's that big of a deal. It just seems like a big deal in the moment, and if you focus on the long term, all culminated into one thought, then everything seems overwhelming. But if you take things moment by moment and you just ask yourself, well, how would I experience this if this was the last thing I was ever going to do with a physical body? All of a sudden, you can take anything and change it into anything else in a very, very positive way. And try it. Try it with a conversation. Try it in the middle of a fight with someone you're in a relationship with. It's unbelievable, because you're like, you care about that person, but God knows you don't ever want to be wrong in an argument. So if you use this, then it's no longer about proving anything, because if you're going to die later that day, it's more important to show that you love than to win. And if you do this on a daily basis for a while, it doesn't even take that long, it starts to become a massive tool in your life, and you can use it to transmute anything. And then it becomes something where death becomes a lot less necessary, because you're always living as if it was your last moment. So there's no wait time to do anything. You just do stuff because you want to, and because you want to do it in the best way that you know how, and not for anyone else or anything like that. It's just simply to be the best that you're capable of being. So I would definitely encourage you to try it out. It's, for me, one of my favorite things. It's like, oh, I could die tonight. How am I going to eat this muffin? You know, it's like really slowly and really enjoy it. And you can do it with anything, you know. And if you have a big decision, you can be like, well, if I was going to die next week, what decision would I make? And then go from there. Because it's always going to give you the true way you feel about it, minus any fear that you have put in the decision. So this is a great way. So between this and the aspect of just sharing about my grandmother, gives a whole new sense about death. So if you'd like to talk to someone that you know that's passed away, simply go into trance and focus on their energy and talk to them in your mind. And you can be like, oh, Bill, are you there, Bill? And at first you'll hear, yeah, I'm here. Hey, how are you? And you'll think that you're talking to yourself, but you have to humor yourself, because there's no way to believe it until later on, when the spirit you're talking to starts telling you things that you wouldn't say, and then they can validate who they are. And you can get so much healing from that, so much. So try it out and love it, and let me know how you like it, because it has enriched my life so much. Namaste.